Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. Today I want to talk about the world of Atzilut. It's a new series I'm thinking of starting. It's all based off the teachings of the Rebbe Rashab in his Maimarim. So the first world that we're going to speak about is Atzilut, and in English this translates as the world of emanation. And so to give a little background, there's four main worlds or dimensions, realities that we speak of, four stages between Hashem's infinite light and this physical, the lowest of all the worlds, this physical world that we're in right now. So there's four different stages. So the first stage of those four after Hashem's infinite light is the world of Atzilut. So to give a little background, because obviously these are terms we're speaking about that are above physical, like especially the higher worlds, they're not physical worlds. So I have to give a little introduction. So Hashem is beyond all these worlds, of course, and he's beyond infinite. Hashem is, it's a common teaching we learn that Hashem is not infinite, he's beyond infinite. Hashem reveals infinite and finite, but he's not infinite, he's far beyond infinite. So to get into that, so Hashem, so he was in his, we say etzem in Hebrew, atzmus, his Hashem himself in his own state. That's the way it was before the world existed. There was just Hashem in his own presence, so to speak. And then Hashem had a desire to create the world, for there to be a world, a physical world, where the beings in the world sense themselves as separate beings, and in that state of separation, they could unite themselves with Hashem, making an incredible unity, incredible service to Hashem. It causes Hashem tremendous pleasure. So the first step of all this was Hashem, when he revealed his infinite light, it was too powerful. Nothing could exist in the presence of this light. Imagine you have a light that's so blinding. When something is so bright, it's shining into your eyes. If it's too bright, you won't be able to see anything. It's not to say that the light's not there. It's just the light itself is so bright that you can't distinguish anything at all. That's the way it was when Hashem first revealed his light. So Hashem hid his light, and Hashem made it so that first he has to prepare the worlds. He hid his light, and then he prepared the worlds, and then he inserted a small amount of light, relatively speaking, into the worlds to give them life, but he hid the infinite light so to not overwhelm the worlds and completely nullify them out of existence. So the first of this stage is Atzilut. Of course, we're going to speak in future videos, B'ezrat Hashem, about how there are different levels above Atzilut to get to Atzilut. But when we really speak about the worlds, the main thing we focus on is the first world, the first main world that we speak of, revealed world, is Atzilut. The other worlds are more infinite and they're more chaotic, so to speak. But Atzilut is the first preparatory stage. And Atzilut is called the intermediate between the infinite light and this physical world. So why is it called the world of emanation? It's called the world of emanation because Atzilut is not a new creation. The reality that exists in Atzilut is not a new creation, but rather it's a very contracted version of Hashem's light. So obviously we can't imagine in our bodies right now really what it's like to be in Atzilut, but to be in this place, it's not a new revelation, but rather it's a very concentrated, measured version of Hashem's light. But obviously it has an aspect of infinite to it. So it's called the intermediate. It's a contracted version of Hashem's light. But even in this world, there's a level of infinite revelation of Hashem's light in this world. When we say light, we mean revelation of God, revelation of Hashem's presence. So imagine you could have infinite, or there's different levels to infinite. So you could have like something this big, but within something this big, there's a revelation of infinite. Or you could have something that's an infinite measure with infinite light. So in Atzilut, it's a contracted version of Hashem's light, but there still radiates an aspect of infinite. So since this is a deep concept, but the light of Atzilut is infinite, but the vessels that it's shining through are finite. They give it the ability then to draw down into the world. It's the preparatory stage for the worlds when everything's being jotted out, so to speak, everything's included, meaning it has the ability now to be limited in a world. Of course, if these concepts are difficult, it's normal. We're speaking about things that are above physical. But more people learn Chassidus, they become more familiar with these worlds and the terms, the ideas of Atzilut being a world which is infinite, but that has the ability to be contracted into the finite. That's a concept that's very popular, and it's going to become more familiar to everyone. And so to give it some more perspective, what's it like for a neshama to be in the world of Atzilut? So since our souls, actually the innermost part of our souls, the etzem of our soul, the soul of our soul, so to speak, the most inner part, actually comes from above any of these worlds. It's sourced from much higher than even the world of Atzilus. It's from Hashem himself, his essence. Just like a child comes from the father, he was inside the father's body, and then he left the father's body, but he's still sourced from the inside the father. So as you don't say he's when he was in the father's body that there's separate beings in the father, rather just part of the father. So too with us, our neshama comes from our father Hashem, and even though we come down into this world, we're still united with him, still within him, so to speak. So what's it like to be in Atzilus? A neshama that's in a soul that's in the world of Atzilus doesn't feel his own presence. He only feels Hashem's presence. It's true that there are souls that go into the world of Atzilus and they are somewhat experiencing a revelation of God, but there's still a version of them experiencing it, but they're so overwhelmed. It's such an overwhelming revelation of God that they're not even self-aware. All they're aware of is Hashem. And as you go down into the lower worlds, we'll get into the future, in future videos we'll talk about the other worlds, but basically how it works is that the higher up you are in the worlds, the more Hashem is revealed and the less a person feels his own self-awareness. The more a person goes down into more neshama, I should say, not a person, the more neshama goes down into, or an angel goes down into the descends into lower worlds, the less they feel Hashem, the more they feel their own presence, until we're in this low physical world where at first glance a person could only feel his own presence and not Hashem's presence. But as we said in previous videos, through the Torah is actually also sourced from even far beyond the world of Atzilus, from Hashem himself. So as we exist in this physical world, through learning Torah, we are tapping into things that are, tapping into Hashem, teachings of Hashem that are beyond any of the worlds. And we're able to then unite the finite and the infinite, beyond infinite, meaning even though we sense at first glance our own separate presence, that's what Hashem wants, because Hashem wants us to have free will. So in order for us to have free will, he has to hide himself. But then, through the Torah, we get to reunite with him. And the reunification makes the relationship far greater than had we have always been together. So an example of this is, chas v'shalom, a father's son goes into captivity, is captured. A king's son is captured. So once the son, let's say the son is saved and is returned to his father, them being reunited together, it activates a love between them, the innermost part of the relationship that wasn't even accessible before. It's true, it would be nice to always be with Hashem, had our souls have always been above with Hashem and Hashem's presence. It's true, that would have been a tremendous thing, but it doesn't compare to the joy that Hashem feels and we feel, and the pleasure we both feel by reuniting together. And that's through being in this physical world with free will, with Torah and mitzvahs. So this is basically focusing on the world of Atzilus, that the world of Atzilus is the first step where it's a contracted version of Hashem's light the intermediate that combines the finite and the physical. It's a deep term, but we'll get into more in future videos. But to know that as deep as all these concepts are, our neshama is from a much higher level. It's from Hashem himself, and through us learning Torah, we transcend any of these limitations, any of these steps, and we draw down from Hashem himself. So if a person's in a difficult situation, he should know that the Torah is sourced from much higher than what his problem is, and with Hashem's help, he could be able to, through bringing Hashem into his life, when light comes in, darkness flees. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think, and if you like this, B'ezrat Hashem, I'll make more.